The request seemed simple, even polite on the surface. "Sir, we need you to move to accommodate our VIP passenger," the flight attendant said, her tone carefully wrapped in professional courtesy. But beneath her smile, there was an unmistakable chill, the kind that came not from policy, but from prejudice. She gestured toward a white woman standing nearby, dressed in designer clothes and exuding entitlement. Her name was Lauren Pendleton, and she tapped her watch as if time itself owed her something. The seat in question, 2 hours already occupied. A black man sat there, focused quietly on his tablet, reviewing notes for a presentation. His name was Damian Ellison. He didn't look up right away. He was used to this kind of moment. The uneasy energy, the subtle presumption that he was out of place. "I always sit there," Lauren muttered, just loud enough for the nearby passengers to hear. Damian looked up slowly. His face remained calm, but the confusion in his eyes was genuine. He had done everything right. Booked early, paid full price, checked in on time, confirmed his platinum status twice. And yet, somehow, he was now the inconvenience. He reached into his jacket and produced his membership card with quiet confidence. "I'm a platinum member," he said firmly. "This is my assigned seat." For a beat, the flight attendant whose name tag read Melissa hesitated. Her smile faltered, but it returned with a practiced tightness. She stepped back slightly, recalibrating. What she didn't realize, what neither she nor Lauren understood, was that this moment would trigger far more than discomfort. It would detonate a fault line they couldn't see and expose a system they didn't even know was already crumbling beneath them. Damian didn't budge. He kept his focus on the screen in front of him. His presentation was on ethical technology and unconscious bias topics he had spent his life studying, teaching, and disrupting. And now, as fate would have it, he was living his subject matter in real time. The tension around him grew thick. Passengers leaned just slightly toward the aisle, some discreetly lifting phones, cameras catching what they suspected might become a public confrontation. Melissa returned, this time with a different tone. "Sir, that seat is generally reserved for one of our most frequent flyers." Damian didn't even look up. He simply set his tablet down and pulled out his boarding pass, holding it up for her to see. "I chose this seat. I confirmed it. I'm not moving." Lauren huffed loudly behind Melissa. "It's practically my seat," she said with theatrical annoyance, arms crossed and tapping her foot. Melissa retreated again, heading toward the front of the cabin. As she walked away, she cast a final glance backward, more concerned with the optics than the ethics. Damian knew the game. He'd seen it play out 100 different ways in boardrooms, in restaurants, at airports. A black man in a place someone else didn't think he belonged. And the expectation, always, was compliant silent, polite removal. He didn't comply. Moments later, another member of the crew appeared. The cabin supervisor. Older, white, firm in posture and tone. "Sir," he said, "we need you to move. This passenger is one of our regulars." Damian folded his hands, placed them neatly in his lap. "I'm sitting in the seat assigned to me. I will not move." The man's voice dropped to a lower, more condescending tone. "Maybe you're not familiar with how we operate. We prioritize certain passengers." "I'm a platinum member," Damian replied evenly. "This is my seat." The man's mouth tightened. He turned and walked briskly toward the front of the plane, already pulling out his phone to make a call. Lauren turned to the passenger behind her and laughed softly. Some people just don't understand protocol, but others understood something else entirely. Phones tilted. Cameras rolled. The social contract of silence was beginning to fray. Lauren, emboldened by what she saw as support, tried to grease the wheels. As Melissa passed her seat again, Lauren discreetly slipped a folded wad of bills into her blazer pocket. "Thanks for your help," she murmured. Loud enough. Melissa didn't return the money. Damian saw it. So did others. Then came the escalation. The cabin supervisor returned with the captain. They stood over Damian, 3 deep now, voices lower, colder. "You need to move." "Final request," the captain said, as if this was a matter of policy rather than preference. Damian picked up his phone. "I want to document this," he said calmly. I'm being asked to vacate my assigned seat despite having platinum status and a boarding pass, solely because another passenger prefers it. No one could pretend not to see anymore. Lauren looked away, suddenly aware of the cameras. The captain shifted awkwardly. Melissa said nothing. Damien was removed from the aircraft by two security officers who had just boarded, their faces stiff with discomfort. He didn't resist. He gathered his things, walked out with his back straight, his pace steady. Behind him, Lauren slipped into the seat with smug satisfaction, sipping a glass of champagne Melissa had offered her. But one passenger wasn't ready to let it go. Across the aisle, a woman in her early 30s sat still, eyes wide. Her name was Nina Campbell, a civil rights attorney. She had recorded the entire scene, from the first insult to the final removal. She followed Damien off the plane. Outside the gate, she approached. "I saw it all," she said. "I have the video." Damien looked at her, his expression unreadable. But he accepted the phone when she handed it over. Inside the Skylux Airlines executive suite, things were very different. The CEO, Robert Kane, was just learning of the incident. His PR team scrambled. The footage had gone viral in under an hour. Hashtags surged. To a reckoning, Skylux bias, justice in flight. The man they had removed? Damien Ellison, CEO of Equiview Technologies, the very firm Skylux had been courting for a $50 million overhaul of their customer service AI. Worse still, Equiview now controlled nearly 30% of Skylux's stock through various subsidiaries. Damien wasn't just a passenger. He was a shareholder powerful enough to call an emergency board meeting, and he did. The fallout came swift and brutal. At the board meeting, Damien arrived in the same suit they'd removed him in. Elise Warner, his COO, played the unedited video to dead silence. Damien's demands were simple. Terminate the employees involved. Cancel the pending partnership. The board hesitated. Elise intervened. "If we pull out, and if our investment partners follow, your stock drops by 30% within 48 hours. They complied. Melissa, the supervisor, and the captain were all terminated the same day. But it didn't end there. Skylux was shut down for 48 hours. Every employee underwent equity and ethics retraining designed by Equiview. The company lost millions. Stockholders panicked. Customers demanded answers. But the reckoning had begun. 6 months later, Skylux had changed. Biased reporting channels were open. Promotions were restructured around inclusion metrics. Leadership was diversified. The airline became a case study in corporate accountability. And those who had fallen? Trevor, the supervisor, now worked as a ground crewman at a smaller airline, leading bias awareness meetings. Melissa joined a nonprofit training flight attendants on equity. Captain Reynolds gave lectures on moral courage and leadership failure. Their stories didn't disappear. They were transformed because Damien believed in justice, not vengeance. He launched the Second Chance Initiative Redemption through accountability. It became a model adopted by airlines, banks, and hotels. Other companies followed, some quietly, others proudly. And Damien? He refused awards, declined interviews. He simply returned to his work making systems better, fairer. The flight where it all began, Flight 227, still flew. And one day, Damien boarded it again. Same seat, 2A, same airline. But nothing was the same. He sat down, greeted warmly, and opened his tablet. This time, the story wasn't about the fight. It was about what came after.